and Greg and Richard right here on Talking Red.
Nottingham Forest refocused their sightline, and it's Bologna's Ndoye and Manchester City's James McAtee, who, according to reputable reports, the Reds now see as the ones to replace Antony Elanga and the potential departure of Morgan Gibbs-White. Now, I say potential because, in spite of half of North London being adamant it was a done deal and he was holed up in a hotel somewhere locally, there is still no development on Morgan Gibbs-White to Spurs. It possibly seems even further away than ever, with Gibbs-White starting in Forest friendly against Monaco on Saturday, and even more so with the fact that it seems like he is on the plane with the squad right now to Portugal for their 10-day training camp. Should he stay or should he go now? If he goes, will there be trouble? And if he stays, will it be double? He's been labelled a snake by some Forest fans, and just how will the rest of the Forest squad on that plane be feeling towards their talisman right now? To discuss all of that and the rest of the latest Forest news, we're thrilled to have with us our good friend, the pub landlord, Merryweather, and joining us very shortly, resident Statman Danscape will be with us. And if you've been here before, welcome back. If it's your first time, we hope that you will join us. And I say hello and welcome to Talking Reds, a Nottingham Forest podcast hosted by myself, Greg Oram, and my fellow Forest fanatic from across the Atlantic, Richard Spray.
Morgan Gibbs-White to Tottenham. Here we go. Deal done for the Nottingham Forest players to leave the club and join Tottenham Hotspur project.
I've had more breaking news than Dexter Daps, fam. Nottingham Forest, Morgan Gibbs-White is on his way to Tottenham, and it's not to feature in a Heady One music video, blood. It's to become Captain Morgan's Gibbs, Lily White for...
Hold up. Wait a minute.
And now here's Wood, left-hand side, rolls it into Gibbs-White. Gibbs-White, oh! Nudge, lovely finish again. Tom, that's given away. And Morgan Gibbs-White fires home. Alphonse Areola just laid the ball straight to Gibbs-White, 16 yards out. And Morgan Gibbs-White scores for Forest.
Gibbs-White's proposed move to Tottenham is off for now. Sky Sports News has been told, while Nottingham Forest consult their lawyers over potential legal action. Now, Sky Sports News understands Forest have ceased all...
From the minute I joined, I felt the love instantly, and it's gotten stronger and stronger over the games, over the months, over the years, and I just wish it continues. I promise to keep trying to perform every single game and trying to keep you.
Listen, Morgan's a professional. I don't really know the ins and outs of that, but he was here today. You know, obviously he's playing and he's training with us, staying fit and as normal. So yeah, you're gonna have to ask Morgan.
Should I stay or should I go now? Enough is enough! I have had it with these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane! Everybody strap in! I'm about to open some fucking windows.
There we have it. Richard Spray. I know. Wow. It's a menage, a montage menage. How you doing, Richard? Good to have you and see my co-host from Oklahoma.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm just taking that all in. There was so much to unpack there, and I think that you can guarantee on no one's bingo card was snakes on a plane. So well done, mate. That was a worthy inclusion. But yeah,
some might say that there is a snake on a plane. Not me, but there are some out there saying that there is a snake on a plane.
That's right. I agree.
And a long-time old friend of mine, I call him the pub landlord because that's how I adore him as, but also one half of the Tricky Tree Travel Club, Alan Merryweather with us. How you doing, buddy?
I'm very good, Greg. How are you?
Yeah, we're really good, mate. Really excited to get into this. We've got lots to get through, lots to unpack. As I say, Danscape will be joining us at some point very, very soon. And no, Big Arn, we're not fishing for a replacement member. There is no secret release clause as far as we can tell in Danscape's. He hasn't got a contract. But yeah, you know, the occasional appearance on other podcasts, we do that as well. So nothing to fear, nothing to worry about. But Big Arn, a big supporter of Talking Reds. Great to have you in the comments. And if you are also joining us, please do say hello. Mickey Toast is with us. Hey, Mickey. And Peter Cook says, MGW needs to go now. He's made his mind up. He wants to go to the Spuds. So let's get the money and re-strengthen, etc., etc. Please do also consider liking and subscribing. It does us a lot of favors to get the numbers up, push the messages out there. We just want to chat Forest and have a bit of fun, and we want your involvement in that. So please do like and subscribe. Apple, Spotifyers, we've got a few more reviews coming in, which is wonderful. So please do, continue to write nice reviews about us. We did have a review, in fact, a comment that someone posted onto YouTube. I don't think we've got it to hand. So I want to say thank you very much to Darren Hickman, I think it was, on one of our recent episodes, who wrote something really nice about, in his opinion, us being the best Forest podcast. And we're not necessarily trying to be the best. We just want to try and do the best for you guys. So we appreciate any comments that you can share with us. And even if it's a bit of feedback on stuff that it's not for you or you don't quite like, listen, we're big boys. We can take it. So we're grateful for anyone's interaction. And just quickly before we get going properly, guys, I promised another listener and watcher, David Jones, that I would share this letter that he wrote. And he was asking for your help. So this is maybe for people going back a few years. He says this. He says, look, I wondered if you could ask a question to the older fan base, which relates to my first game. That's Dave's first game. Forest 4, Palace 0 in May 1980. So we are going back a ways. He says, I went with my dad and brothers, none of which are Forest fans. Not quite sure how that's worked out. He says, but I was hooked for life. This was the game when Trevor Francis got injured. He had a brilliant game. He said that's all, in fact, that the collective family can remember is that due to a lack of stretcher, Trevor Francis was carried off in a wheelbarrow. He says, I know this sounds ridiculous, but I can't find any record of it happening. We're all convinced it did. And given Dad was 40 at the time and my brothers were late teens, I can't believe we've all misremembered. Does anyone out there have any evidence or recollection in any way? If it's true, what an amazing way to treat the country's most expensive signing at the time. Can you help, Dave Jones? So, putting it out there, could anyone remember the Forest home match v Crystal Palace, May 1980? Trevor Francis goes down injured, no stretcher, but gets taken off in a wheelbarrow. Is that something that actually happened? Can any of you remember that? Has anyone got any images or pictures of that? It's a crazy, crazy request, I think, to try and find one of you out there that might remember that, but maybe not. I mean, it is quite significant, I guess, if you're getting carried off on a wheelchair. Does anyone remember Trevor Francis getting carried off the pitch at the City Ground on a wheelchair? On a wheelbarrow. Did I say wheelbarrow? Wheelchair.
Yeah.
Wheelbarrow. In a wheelbarrow. The type you use to do your allotment. There we go. Right. There's quite a bit to unpack. Richard, over to you first. We've lost a player. Danilo, the Brazilian wonder boy with his pistol whip. He's gone. Thoughts on Danilo departing, Richard?
Yeah, it's one of those what could have been sort of situations, I mean, he's he has electric moments. He's a wonderful personality, seemingly great, humble kid, and he seemed like he was going to be one of those first signings aside from Gibbs-White, right? That was going to sort of matriculate into something that we could develop and then turn around for really good money, and just didn't seem to happen. I mean, the injury last season clearly is a major part of why that maybe didn't come to pass, but grateful for him, grateful for the great moments. I mean, who can forget that goal against Southampton off of that little Morgan Gibbs-White, back heel flick, and just an absolute, incredible moment for him, and sparked a lot of great sound bites and other things. But the great goal against Brentford too on the half volley. I mean, just he's just had some isolated moments, and he's got a lot of skill. I mean, there's no doubting the talent is there, and hopefully, I think you put this out there, Greg, in our group that this is the kind of place where you feel like he could really thrive going there to Botafogo, which is a really good side as we saw in the Club World Cup, and maybe rehabilitate and get back to something, and maybe make his way back to Europe. You never know, but he's a hell of a guy and a hell of a talent. So hope wish him the best.
Danscape's joining us. How you doing, Dan? Nice to see you this afternoon.
Hello, yeah, good.
I'll come to you in a moment. Just briefly, Alan, what's your favourite memory of Danilo?
I just think it's that goal and the celebration. But I think it just didn't really work for him, did it? I think he had a lot of bags of potential, but was never really pivotal in moving us forward. I thought he was a great player, but look, players are going to come and go.
Yeah, how much, Danscape, how much did the injury kind of affect that? Because at one point, it did look like he was going to be the main man. He started last season with Sangari in the midfield, and 10 minutes later, he's being carried off. And that was the end of that. How much did that injury have an impact on his Forest career?
That's it, sliding doors moment. He could have kept that place in the team, and he could have been a guy we were all behind last season, playing 20, 30 games, and Elliot Anderson might have been trying to find a way into the team in another position, and it flipped all in that moment that he landed and snapped his ankle. And it is very harsh kind of reality of football, isn't it? He's gone from that to now a completely different career path, all on that opening day. And I saw somewhere, someone said, he only made 13 appearances last season, and you're just thinking, well, after snapping your ankle, making 13 appearances is actually pretty good, isn't it? So I'm sort of amazed he came back to play at all last season, having seen the injury. So yeah, we just wish him all the best.
So we've lost a Brazilian, Alan, but 1 out, 2 through the door now confirmed, and there are on the screen are the pictures of Igor Jesus and Jair Cunha, and they're straight to work, and they're on the plane over to Portugal. How excited, Alan, are you to see these two play for Forest?
Well, I think you look at the Murillo. I knew nothing about him. I know very little or nothing about these guys. Let's just see. I think the model at the clubs, we're going very much South American for a lot of the players. Brazil's a big market for us. Let's just see. I'm not going to sit here and profess to say I know anything about them, because until 3-4 weeks ago, they were new people to me.
Yeah, I completely agree. I didn't know anything about either of them, Richard, but we saw what Igor Jesus can do in the Club World Cup. And, he seems like, a really grounded character. I mean, hats off to Wolfie on FFTV for getting an interview with him, which I know took a lot of organising, and it was in the mix and in the process for a good while. And fair play to Wolfie, pulled it off, but he got our star signing on camera and in an interview before he even landed in the UK. And then I think in that moment we saw that, he's a passionate guy who wants to play. Of course, the draw is the Premier League. Let's not kid ourselves. I don't think any of them grew up on the streets of Sao Paulo or wherever it was thinking, one day I really wish I could wear the Tricky Tree badge on my chest. Let's be real. But he's our player, and he seems really happy to be here, Richard.
He absolutely does. And I think it was, there was a bit of a question as to whether Jair Cunha was actually going to get over the line, because there was being reports of him, potentially not and staying there in Botafogo, and maybe there was going to be a January transfer or something to that effect. And, I think it's a great bit of business, because there's ceilings to these players, and they both seem like pretty humble guys and ready to put the work in. I mean, you see them doing it there, obviously, on the picture that's on the screen at the given moment. But in addition to that, I mean, if you think about if we were trying to do this deal after the Club World Cup had concluded, we'd probably be looking at a much higher price. And because both guys score goals, both of them are kind of featured for Botafogo in that, fabulous win against PSG, where obviously Igor Jesus scored the only goal to beat them. So there's definitely an excitement about what they can offer. There's obviously Jair Cunha is young. He's 20 years old. Got plenty to prove, plenty to come from him. We'll see how they kind of fit him in. I mean, I think that was the question on Murillo. Talent was there. Nathan Joyce talked about the talent before he showed up, and then he just forced his way into the team because he was just too good. And we only continue to see a player like Murillo get better and better every season. So you hope that will be the case for Cunha. I think Daniel probably knows a little bit more about him from a metric standpoint, but 6'6", you're not going to be disappointed about that on a set piece, whether that be on the offensive or defensive side of the ball. And then Igor Jesus gives you that little bit of a change up in terms of how he plays up front.
We said a year ago, Danscape, that we had to fix the issue we had with free kicks, both in our goal and at the other end. And it became land of the giants. Carlos Miguel came as the backup goalkeeper at 6'9". Of course, Milenkovic was the key difference as far as I'm concerned, 6'5". We've already got Big Willie, who I think stands at around 6'5" as well. So, you know, we've bought. He certainly does. And we also, I know, and we've also got, you know, Morato, who's so tall. So it makes it's no surprise to me that the next centre back coming in, and David Carmo, remember, is now back at the club, having been on loan at 6'5". So there's lots of height there. But from what I've seen of Jair Cunha, this kid can play. This can bring the ball out. You know, it's like a gazelle with those legs, bringing the ball out of his feet and moving into midfield. I know that we don't know the answer, but how much would you like to see of him? Are you content for him to be brought in nice and steadily and introduced slowly, or you know, are you really keen to see him get more action?
It's going to be the question: is will he get ahead of Morato in that kind of switch to the back three? I think we'll go for the same plan of the back four to start the season. So then the question is, will he go ahead of Morato coming on for those last 10 minutes? Will that be how he gets eased into things? I don't see how he plays regularly other than if we go to a back three, because obviously Milenkovic, Murillo will be the partnership. So, you know, I'm happy to see him, and I think I would like to see him come on and do that job. Like you say, he looks really good on the ball, very sort of calm and you know, composed for someone of his age, and he's a massive physical presence. So coming on for the last 10, 20 minutes, shutting down a game seems perfect way to introduce him. I'm sure he'll make some mistakes, you know, being the age he is and coming to this league and the sort of pressure and the strikers and things. So, you know, we can't necessarily fully rely on him straight away, but yeah, he's got a lot of potential. And then the same with Igor Jesus, I think, is he looks very interesting character. He's very like manicured and stuff, isn't he? And he's got the whole celebration, and he's got all that. I think he's going to turn into quite an interesting backstory and stuff as we get to know him.
I think lots of us have already got him down as the cult hero. I was praying for 99 on his shirt, but it is going to be number 19. Scott from Down Under was due to be on with us today, but unfortunately isn't very well. So he's listening from his sick bed. He says he's apologised for piking. I think that means pulling out. Or maybe he's misspelt it and it means apologies for puking. He's probably done a bit of both. Frederick T says hello from Essie. So Essie, where's that? Not quite sure where that is, but someone will tell me. And I want to also say Alistair Brown, watching on delay. That was the best intro so far. Alistair, you keep giving me these kind of, you're just going to encourage me even more. Not that I need encouragement, but those kind of things are great to hear. Thank you so much. I've met Big Arn. And he says Luton comeback was totes emotes. Totes emotes, Big Iron, you're a big burly guy. I'm not quite sure totes emotes goes with the Big Iron thing. You're trying to be down with the kids, innit? Right. Next on the list before we get into the heavy stuff, just quickly to touch on Matz Sels signing a new contract. It's not an extension. He's still contracted until the end of June 2027, but it's improved terms, gives him more money. Alan, do you think this was the right thing for the club to do?
I think he's been rewarded for a great season. I can't knock the fella. I think you look at the goalkeepers we had before. Personally, I was devastated we let Samba go. But yeah, I reward him. I think once we talk about Morgan Gibbs-White, if Morgan Gibbs-White signs a better contract, then I think there's going to be a lot more of this going on. But yeah, well done to the club. I think that's a great move.
I agree. I think an improved deal for definite. If that's what they want to do, we want to say we want to keep you on until 2027. We want to give you more money. That in itself is a reward to the player.
But I think it just shows you're valued.
But I wonder why they didn't extend it. I don't know why there wasn't an extension in there as well. To me, that's you're really valued. Not only are we going to give you more money, Alan, but we're going to extend it, even if it's by a year. Let's extend it by a year, so you're here for another 3 years.
Maybe it was there, and then you look at what's happened with Gibbs-White. Maybe I can't imagine for a second there'll be a buyout clause in there, but you know, improved terms. The terms will work for the club as well. And to be fair, look at the mess we've been in with goalkeepers. So let's tie him in. Let's give him something. Let's keep him valued.
What about you, Danscape? Would you like to have seen not only a new deal that gives him more money, but also a new deal that extends it by a year at least.
So the current one runs now till 27, so yeah,
maybe one, it also runs to 27. So there's no added time on the new deal.
So another year, I would have probably offered. Yeah, I suspect maybe Sels has said that. Look, I want to move back to Belgium or France or somewhere. At that age, maybe it's kind of like this is the plan. Give us 2 more years of solid performances. Obviously, we reward you for last season, and then part ways, and he gets to go off to back to a club in Belgium or France or somewhere closer to what he would consider home, I guess.
Yeah, but that says to me then that he's going he'll go in a year then, because if he's going to go back,
well,
I'd want to sell him. I wouldn't let him go for free.
Could there have been an option to
that age?
Year?
I don't. Yeah, but how old will he be then in terms of getting
34?
a fee?
How old is he now, Richard?
He's 33. He's actually 33 now. Sorry.
I think goalkeepers get better with age. I've always said that. Now, listen, he's just had the season of his life, so maybe they're kind of still thinking, well, look, he's got to repeat that. But I also think, look, if you tie someone in, and if he's saying I want to go maybe back later on, they're going to let him go for free then. See out your contract. See you later. I mean, what did we buy him for? 4 million, or what? Or have I made that up? Something like that.
4 or 5, yeah.
4, 5, 6, somewhere, yeah.
So he goes for free. Whereas actually, if he has another kick-ass season and he's still 34, 35, I mean, I still think that is a ripe age for goalkeepers. I wouldn't want to see him leave. I don't want to see any player depart Forest for free unless it's a very long-standing player who's reached the end of his contract. Toffolo, for example, that I can understand Toffolo leaving. He served the club well on and off the pitch. His contract finished. He moves on with the best wishes of the club. All right, I can understand that, but I think one of our top-level performing players who are really important to the club, I don't really want to see them leave the club for nothing. But again, maybe in 2 years' time, I feel differently. Think Sels has been here for at that point would have been about 4.5 years or something like that. So you feel differently then. But on the face of it, great that he's signed. Richard, I know you're excited and happy about him in tying. Not tying. He's still tied in, but the fact he's been rewarded with a bit more Wonga.
Yeah, I think just solidifies our position on him as if we didn't know that from how he performed last season. But and if the preseason match is any indication, which again, that's a preseason match against Monaco, the guy's still got it in him. I think he's going to continue to be a stalwart sort of player for us, and I'm glad that he's at minimum being, like Alan said, being rewarded for the effort and what he did last season, because you can't underscore how critical it was to us, because there were certainly moments in matches that got a little very nervy towards the end of a match, and he was the guy who kind of kept us either in a clean sheet or kept us to a draw, or even potentially to 3 points in some instances. So I don't know. I'm just happy to have him as our number one and not have that be a concern this offseason and in terms of the transfer.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I just play devil's advocate a little bit with that one? So
please do.
Do we all think Matz Sels have we all got 100% confidence in Matz Sels?
I've got 1,000% confidence in Matz Sels.
Yeah, I do.
I had 100% confidence in Matz Sels before the start of last season.
Yeah.
Richard and I.
You look at the way some of the fans reacted to him last season with 1 or 2 of his mistakes. Don't get me wrong, we was all behind him, but they were very quick to turn when he made a mistake or two.
Well, there was only early doors. He made the one against Brighton, which was like 3 or 4 games into the season on the Welbeck free kick, and beyond that, I can't remember. It was the season before. He'd come in January, and a lot of people didn't think that he was a solution. He solved a bad goalkeeping problem, and therefore it was always better than what we had. But Richard and I spoke and said, I don't think the goalkeeper department needs fixing anymore. But lots of people disagreed with that. So I know that here on Talking Reds, we had high expectations and high hopes and no worries about Sels. So I was feeling pretty happy. And that season he just had. If anyone's still got doubts about Matz Sels, then I find that hard to understand, but everyone's got their own opinion. I
like Sels, but I still don't think that the club obviously do value him, but I think you look at Carlos Miguel as number 2. I still think if we got a big goalkeeper, he would go in at number 1.
What? So do you think then that for example, Kelleher was on Forest radar and he went to Brentford, so I don't know. I think I disagree with you, bud. I don't think the club are actively looking for a number 1 goalkeeper. I think Matz Sels is their number 1. I think they will bring in a goalkeeper because they need a number 3. Is Aaron Bott ready to be a number 3? I don't know. Matt, what does the chat think? Do we need a goalkeeper, chat? Do you think that a number 3? I mean, I'd be very much in favour of trying to get Carl Darlow, because he would qualify us with our academy prospects for Europe, all that kind of stuff. Whether or not he's going to get a look in at Leeds this season, I don't know. But he finished as their number 1. But if there was a chance to bring Carl Darlow back to the club, then I think that would be of interest to me. But what does everyone else think? Let us know what you think. Does the club need a goalkeeper? Are you happy with Matz Sels' contract?
We don't this season. Yeah, I think everyone's got confidence that for one more season he's the definite number 1. But I also think you've got to have the succession plan. So at some point next summer, you potentially need to go out and buy a keeper that is wanting to be number 1, who's about 27, 28, of that age range. So potentially the 2-year deal suits, because next summer we bring someone in and then they overlap and then Sels moves on and you've got a new number 1 keeper. That would be the dream if we can be that organised and get a target.
Yeah, Steve says that Sels had a brilliant season. Occasionally he stays on his line, could come and claim the ball, but it's a very small issue overall. Big Arn was a doubter, but was totally won over. Says that Matz has his flaws, but massively outweighed by the stuff he is very good at. All right, okay, let's move forwards. And the main talking point we want to get to is Morgan Gibbs-White. So as the intro suggested, and as you all know, Forest fans, that it is the saga of sagas again. We are definitely a club in the headlines with lots going on, whether it's getting into Europa or missing out on the Champions League or all that kind of stuff. And Palace fans hate us, and now Spurs are piling in on us. They've been convinced, Spurs fans, it's a done deal. But it looks like he is on the plane to Portugal, and he played at the weekend, Richard. How surprised were you to see Morgan Gibbs-White start the match, firstly? And secondly, do you think that signified that, he ain't going nowhere?
Yeah, not totally surprised, I guess, that he was starting based off of the fact that we saw, images of him coming in, images of him training with some, smiles on his face. And, you see the quote on the screen right now from Ola Aina, and you referenced it in your great intro, Greg, that, he's being a professional about this. And so whether there's still a desire to move, whether there's actual meaningful conversation going on behind the scenes, no one really knows at this point. And there's all this nonsense on X this morning that I think Dan referenced as well in our WhatsApp group about supposedly City now coming back around now that they have, kind of have a gauge on what the release clause is and all of that. So who knows? I'm grateful if he's here. I mean, he's clearly a talented player and he contributed significantly to us last season and has done since he came into our side at the beginning of our Premier League experience in 22. But I don't know. Part of me is just like, it just feels like a 70-30 split that he's still on his way out the door. I can be happy either direction. I think it's good for him if he has an opportunity to play for a Champions League side. It's good for his England prospects, good for us financially, potentially. But yeah, I mean, it seems like everything's pointing towards it being a bit of a stalemate right now and sort of being in limbo. But I am a bit surprised, given that there was that reports out there that he wanted it tied up and done before he left to go to Portugal, but that clearly hasn't happened. So yeah, it continues to remain a TBD scenario. So, I mean,
Richard, I know you are a huge Gibbs-White fan, but if there's anyone a bigger fan, it's got to be Alan Merryweather. And you said since the first time you ever came on the pod, way back when we did our one with, that you just hadn't seen a better player than Gibbs-White in a Forest shirt for a long, long time. So how has this left you feeling, Alan? I mean, I know that I've seen a few things you put out on X. You're quite forthright with your opinions, but I also think very balanced as well. How are you feeling at the moment, bud?
I'd love him to stay. I think what we've got to remember, his head's been turned. He's been obviously given a huge pay rise. I think the Tuchel thing didn't help. England manager going to a different club. Champions League will help him. But let's be honest. He's not a Forest fan. He's not pinned his, I think he's been super professional, super low. And, his performances have been 100%. They haven't always been brilliant, but they've always been 100%. If he stays, I think we should get behind him. If he goes, we should wish him well. Personally, I'd do everything we can to keep him and keep building a team around him, Anderson, Murillo.
Is it any surprise, Danscape, that a Champions League team, and let's forget where Spurs finished last season. No one expected Spurs to finish there, and I don't think it's going to happen again. They've got too many good players and a different manager now. So they've always been in and around challenging for Champions League football. And they managed to get it because they won the Europa. We know about that. So when a team was going into Champions League, and it is a big club, the big stadium, big this, big everything, Brennan's there. Is it any surprise that, you know, if they show interest, he's going to go, yeah, actually, you know what? I've done 3 years at Forest. I think I've really served them well. I've been professional all times. I've done everything I can on and off the pitch to represent the club to the best of my ability. This is the time for me to move on. So is it any surprise that, you know, he perhaps feels like he wants to go? And the way he's carried himself through this last 7 days, in my opinion, has been nothing short of exemplary, I think. You were at the match on Saturday. So what was your take from how he was playing for Forest through that first 45 that he was on the pitch? And then I know he left the pitch and he was being applauded and he was applauding back. So just give us your take on all of that, as well as the surprise factor that you might want to leave.
Yeah, so the first part of it, I'm not surprised that he wants to leave at this point in time. I think when you look at his age, when you look at the character that we know he is, the ambition he's got, and just how much he loves football, like clearly he wants to go to another level that unfortunately we didn't quite deliver in terms of, say, Champions League, but also in terms of the lifestyle of being a player at a bigger club. You know, you just get more attention, don't you? You're going to get more eyes on you. You're going to get more mentions on the TV, and you've got more potential to shine in that respect than you do at Forest still at the moment. So it's incredibly sad that a team like Forest can't keep hold of their best players. But, you know, the reality is that someone even like Spurs, who are bottom of that big club pile, let's be clear on that, you know, are still able to offer things that we sort of can't offer right now. So it doesn't surprise me overall. Like, would it surprise me if he stayed now? I suppose it would a little bit, insofar as that's why the release clause was put in originally 3 years ago or whenever it was. You know, that's why it was there, so that he had the opportunity to take one of these chances if it came along. And clearly he is keen on it, I think. So it would sort of surprise me if he stayed by his own choice. He might stay because Spurs pull out and, you know, they get fed up, and I'm sure he will still give 100% because he just loves playing football, I think, is the impression you get. So he's not going to turn up and do half a job. So yeah, it's a sad situation. I think on Saturday he was showing his sort of appreciation to the fans because he has loved his time here. That's the thing. He's not leaving because he's upset at Forest and he desperately wants out. He's loved his time here. He's loved the reaction of the fans and all that. So I think he was just recognizing that in the way he left the pitch. And yeah, it's, like I say, sad that we can't keep that team together from last season. But at the same time, as an individual player, I'm not surprised he wants to go on to what would be another level of a club at the minute. Maybe in 5 years' time we can join them. You know?
And so what we know is that there is a clause. What we know is that in some way or another, Spurs learned about it. We believe they learned about it when it was supposed to be confidential, and they've triggered it. And the Nottingham Forest and Marinakis aren't happy in the way that it's been done, which is why the block's in place. And let's be honest, it's not. It doesn't make sense that if a clause is in place and it's a release clause, that, let's be honest, Forest should have any power to block it. It's got to be done the right way. But Forest are insisting, and the legal teams are getting involved, that it's been done in the wrong way, and it's now constitutes as an illegal approach. And that's why it's being blocked. Whether that comes to pass for much longer, who knows? And I think, if I'm honest with you, Richard, that the club are now just trying to buy some time to get him into the room, to put pressure on him and say, look, and again, this is speculation on my part, but this is what I think's happening. Could be wrong. Morgan, stay. Be the biggest fish of fishes in this pond. Get this club going in forwards. Go and win the Europa. Become the legend of legends. Your name will be up there next to John Robertson, Stuart Pearce, and all those other legends. You can be that player. This can be your club. Sign a new contract. We'll give you a shitload of more money. We'll pop a release clause in there that's well worth your value of 80 million, let's say. We won't even make it a secret. We'll let everyone know, potentially. So in a year's time, if someone wants to come and pay that money, you go with our blessing. But don't leave like this. We want you to sign. We want you to stay. I mean, have I just made up a fantasy in my head, Richard, with all of that? Could that possibly be what's going on?
You know, you are an actor by trade, so that was a great little monologue there. But yeah, well done, mate. Yeah, no, it was. You very well could be right, or there could be somewhat of a caveat to what you just said, an amended sort of statement, which is, but if you are going to leave, and that is what needs to happen, then we've got to do what's right for the club, which means that we need to see a little bit more cash. Because we have to be able to build, because you're a huge part of what we've done. You're a huge part of what we want to do going forward, as you mentioned, but we're going to need to see something else from Tottenham, because clearly that 60 million based off the add-ons and everything else, while there's still profit margin there, the reality is it's not going to be what it is if we can just get a few million more, because we've got to fill some holes. We've got to continue to build. We've got to do what we've said we need to do, which is keep things in the coffers, whether that be cash and or players, so we have those assets. And he's an asset. I think Dan brought this up the other day. Does it behoove him? Does it benefit him to have another year under his belt? Because he is at that critical age. While we all agree 25 is not young, right? For some of us, that's half of our age right now, right? So it's still a young guy, but reality is he when you start hitting that 26, 27-year-old sort of scenario, people start to doubt whether you're really worth the 70+ million, because they can't turn you around for more money. So I think we just have to be careful about that. I think as much as I would love to keep him, I think, and I love him being somewhat of a centerpiece. There's things thrown out there about whether we're going to change formation. Does he really fit that sort of that change? Is it you know, I just get the impression that it's his time to progress. And as Alan said, you know, make your peace with it. He can move forward. But I do think Marinakis will probably have sat him down. And we all know he's a pretty straight up guy. He probably said, look, I love you. Want you here. Want to continue to have you be a focal point. But at the same time, we got to get the cash because we need to be able to rebuild.
Susan Wright in the comments says, as far as she remembers, Trevor Francis did get injured in that game v Crystal Palace, but she doesn't remember him being carried off in a wheelbarrow. So still waiting. And thank you to Mark Wayway NFFC for the £5 donation into the pot for drinks when Richard comes over in October. He says, I can't see why they would take him on tour unless they thought there was a good chance of keeping him. It's a very strange situation. We are talking about Gibbs-White and the potential staying or going, and we'll continue that line of chat after this.
The Cheese Trader, based on Grape Lane in York, is a cheese lover's paradise. Home to some wonderful specialty cheeses, relishes and chutneys, and also with a fantastic street food menu. Try their loaded fries or posh cheese on toast. It'll be the best you've ever had. Owned by Forest fan Stu Freestone, the Cheese Trader proudly sponsors Talking Reds. Quote Talking Reds every time to get 10% off your order. The Cheese Trader and Talking Reds, the perfect cheesy mix.
Indeed, the perfect cheesy mix. All right, we are talking about Morgan Gibbs-White and the potential staying or going. And one thing I think as well, there's been lots of people talking about him being this snake, and I don't see that. When you're a player at a club and you're happy and you're in the season, and he does his 100 games interview, in that moment, I fully believe that, you know, he was immersed in the club. He's been given an important role as the vice captain and carrying the armband. So he's going to say and feel and be honest that I love playing at Forest and I can't see myself playing anywhere else. You know, what do you expect him to say? He's going to say nice things, and that's fine. You know, that's completely fine. But things change. Football is a revolving door situation sometimes, and things change, and we shouldn't read too much into that. You know, he has, I think, conducted himself, Alan, pretty well. From what we know, it looks like possibly Spurs are readying, from what I've read, whether it's true or not, to try and resolve the matter, coming back with something like 65 million. To maybe say, okay, you made your point, Forest. There you go. There's 5 million extra. Let's get this done. So that could happen. I've also been reading Twitter at the moment, and again, unconfirmed. I don't know what the account is, but Man City have popped up again as a potential destination for Morgan Gibbs-White. And it says from a Man City fan account with 20,000 followers, I should say, that Forest would be more happy to sell to Man City than Spurs. What do you think about the destination? I mean, would you kind of like stomach it a bit more if it was Man City than Spurs? Does that really matter to you?
To me, a club that finished 17th, scraped through winning a European final. But why is he going to Spurs? just drives me absolutely up the wall.
But would you agree that was a bit of an anomaly season for them? Like I said, no one expects them to finish 17th. It was a bit of a weird one, wasn't it?
They are Spursy.
I know.
Gibbs-White
I'm not a Spurs fan. I'm just trying to be balanced and give it the devil's advocate.
If he went to Man City, I would be a little bit happier because I can understand it. You know, they're rebuilding at the moment, and I think he would fit in. He's a great player. But I think the other thing as well is what's happened as well is obviously he'll have been spoke to. We've tried to improve his contract. Now, soon if he stays and we double his money, which if depending on which account you read is on 60 grand a week. Hey, not bad money, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not fantastic. But if he doubles his money, does everyone else in the changing room, does Wood come in and say, look, you know, I want away? You know, I think we've got to look at the dressing room. The dressing room has been fantastic over the last 4 years.
I agree with you on that. But at the same time, just to kind of push back slightly, would he just sign his own new contract? His age is different. He's happy with what he's got. Ollie's just signed, knowing full well that one of his boys is going to Newcastle. So he's happy to commit, and he's got his own terms. Nico's just signed. We signed Murillo on a contract last season. Milenkovic only just comes to the club. So the next one down who might be looking at improved terms, in my opinion, would be him. I don't know that the players would be that disgruntled if, I mean, I called him their talisman. He's our talisman, but I believe that he is their talisman in that team as well. I don't know that they would be that disgruntled. And Danscape, what do you think about this? If he were to have his, I think he's on 70 grand. I read 70 grand. Let's say they said, we're going to double it. We're going to give you 140 grand a week, and we're going to do this, this, and this, and make you feel like the player that we believe you are. Do you think the fellow players would be that pissed off about that?
No, I don't think so, to be honest. I think that's actually not even that big of a salary for a player like Gibbs-White. If he goes to another club, he'll be pushing to 200k, which would be a massive change for us. And that's perhaps part of the issue, is that he knows, maybe not straight away, but if he performs at Spurs, he'll be getting towards that kind of money pretty quickly. Whereas at Forest, at the minute, it feels like Wood's on, say, 100, 110, something like that. Murillo's obviously had a recent contract. He'll be pushing that. So actually, if anything, Gibbs-White's contract is probably low now, probably less than Hudson-Odoi, for example, comparable sort of player. So, I don't think the players would begrudge him getting to that sort of, top paid player at our club. Whether that's enough, though, for what he thinks he could earn elsewhere, is still, for me, I would say, is the question. And just touching on Spurs, I keep meaning to say this, is I just can't believe he's going to go from Forest, which is pretty much the best fan base, and having seen all the comments from these Spurs fans on all these things and the way they behave, he's literally going to about the worst fan base he can. Yeah, and I don't think he's going to enjoy that side of it, regardless of all the other stuff he's after.
Well, I hear you. I think maybe that's what Alan was getting at, and I agree with you both on that. And Brennan felt that, Richard, last season. I mean, they turned on him. He was their top scorer, but they were turning on him. And I know that the goal in the final was class and known goal, but it was all Brennan's making. So they've seen firsthand that he can turn. Yeah. Are you with the boys that the fan base at Spurs is going to be a rude awakening for Morgan if he goes there?
Oh, undisputedly, because their expectations are going to be higher, even if they finish 17th, right? They're always going to have that belief that they're going to be in Champions League contention, as you mentioned earlier. But yeah, that was complete madness. I mean, how could you go? This he just continues to get better as a player, Brennan, and he's still a really young guy. So he's got a lot to offer that team, and he's got elite skill sets, in particular his pace. I mean, he's probably one of the few defenders that I think could be almost as fast as Elanga. Not quite there, but close. And yet all he did was continue to score goals and continue to improve from the previous season when he was at Spurs. So it doesn't make any sense. But I mean, no fan base, especially one in that area, it's probably short of being fickle. I'm sure they're all fickle in their own ways, right? Chelsea and Arsenal and so on and so forth. I mean, you see things about, them going after Arteta quite frequently. And yes, they haven't won the Premier League, but goodness sakes, you're finishing in the top 2 or 3 every single season. I can think of other teams who'd probably trade places with you very quickly, including us. So it's just the way fans are, I think, in some cases. But at the same time, you're right. That was completely mental. And we know he has not been the best goal scorer to date. He doesn't have the best shooting capability on our team. He was not. That Callum Hudson-Odoi held that title. And yet, so you could see it happening very quickly, especially with the expectations coming in. If he's paid, especially if they go up to 70 million, for example, and that's what we end up purchasing him, absolutely could see them turning on a dime.
Big Arn in the comments is getting excited. He says, "What did you say, Richard in October? I'll have a pint with your name on it, sir. Also, my signature move, a baby Guinness chaser. I can't wait for some of that." And
Alan does not approve of that.
Way says, "Baby Guinness chasers all round." Well, yeah, October. We'll put it out, but the Talking Reds crew will be at the Trent Nav before. We'll make sure everyone knows where we are. We might have to make our way over to Aylestone as well, perhaps, and we'll pop into a pub over there that owned and run by our good friend Alan. Right. So Gibbs-White might be staying, might be going. One player that we don't have a graph for, but just quickly, Danscape, what are your thoughts on Jacob Ramsey coming to possibly fill the void or maybe be an addition? There's still a chance he might be coming from Villa.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the names we're currently sort of linked with in Ramsey, Ndoye and McAtee seem to be the strongest three. I mean, if you could get all those three, you pretty much nailed down your attacking options, because Ramsey plays generally on the left, but can also play in the middle. And Ndoye would generally play on the right, but also the middle. And then you've got McAtee, who can play on the right and the middle as well. So you suddenly got all your options kind of covered for even if Gibbs-White does leave. So Ramsey's definitely one I would look at. I was watching some of his goals and stuff last night because I've not seen loads of him. But he scores a lot with his left foot from the left side, but he can also do a Hudson-Odoi and cut in and curl one right into the corner. One of his goals looks very much like a Hudson-Odoi effort. So he seemed, again, there seems to be good rumours that we're in pole position for him. It's just going to come down to price. But he's definitely the right fit for us. And I'm keen on that one.
Well, and I did see this morning whether this is credible or not, but it looked like Napoli. I don't know if they're moving on because they seem to be the biggest competitor for Ndoye. Supposedly they're looking now at Samuel Lino and another player, I think a Japanese player, so on the wing. So hopefully that means they're cooling and we're in pole position for Ndoye, because I definitely agree with Dan. He said, right, he's the perfect sort of replacement for Elanga.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've got Ndoye on the screen for those that can see it. Romano said that it's been agreed between the player and Forest. Nottingham Forest have stepped up their communications with Bologna, the Italian side that Ndoye currently plays for. This one looks like it has legs in it potentially. We hope that we can get a player in, because there's been a little bit of unrest. One or two people starting to feel really tetchy that things aren't happening. And John Percy went on to say in a tweet that, as well as the Ndoye deal, Forest are advancing their pursuit of Manchester City's attacking midfielder James McAtee. So we've talked about McAtee a little bit. He has interest from other clubs in the Premier League and the Bundesliga. He was visiting Eintracht Frankfurt a little bit earlier in the weekend. Also David Ornstein and the Athletic were also putting out bits and pieces regarding the Gibbs-White situation, regarding James McAtee in particular. So, Alan, I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, on these players coming in, are you feeling particularly worried at this stage about the lack of players? We've got Igor Jesus, we've got Jay Cunha, as we mentioned. Have you been worried that we've lost Elanga and Gibbs-White looks like he's going? Have you been worried at all?
I think we can trust our recruitment department. They've not done bad so far. My only issue is, we seem to be linked with everybody, and we're all jumping on that bandwagon. Let's just wait till they're signed.
Yeah, I mean,
very old-fashioned like that.
No, I live with you.
I'm reading names after names after names after names, and and I'm thinking, none of these kids are coming to us. Let's just wait till they're signed on a dotted line.
Yeah, and I'd said to Richard, he was getting. I'm sure I'm not breaking confidence, but Richard and I have been very, very level-headed. Although Richard was starting to get a little bit more panicky than I, and I had to talk him down from the cliff edge. And I said, "Look, there's going to be stuff going on that none of us know about, and there's going to be a name that pops up. Don't read too much into these names. The Bakayoko that didn't come, the whoever else that didn't come. There's going to be, all of a sudden, there'll be something just popping out that we don't know about. And 2 hours later, all of a sudden, boom, Forest are in for Dan Ndoye. And, yes, there's another name, but it may or may not happen. So,
and I think something else that you said earlier on in the pod, these kids haven't gone around dreaming of playing at the City Ground. Only we've dreamed of that. We are in the top probably 15 clubs in the world that people will, well, certainly in Europe, that people want to come to, because we have Premier League. Okay, so we've got, we've got a head start on most clubs.
I think so. I think we have got a head start on most clubs. And there's a comment just that got fired up just a moment ago that Ben Dorpat, that Rudy Giletti has said that our opening bid for Ndoye has been rejected. That's no surprise. They're not going to take the first bid. It's a negotiation. You table a bid. They'll come back, and it will be, if they're negotiating, that's a good sign. Dan, you had something to say about Dan Ndoye recently on an episode of Talking Reds. Let's just pop this up and reflect on what you had to say at that final time. Option as a thought on a replacement for Elanga is Dan Ndoye, who plays in Serie A for Bologna. Danscape.
Yeah, and he's probably the closest in profile in that he is a pacey guy. I think he's a right-footed right winger, so he's probably the closest profile of player out there that's similarly good at chance creation as Elanga is. Probably better at dribbling with the ball, a little bit better at retaining the ball. And I think the trouble with him is I think he's involved in the fact that Chelsea have signed Gittins from Dortmund, and it looks like Dortmund might go and get him from Bologna as the kind of Gittins replacement. So he would be tough for us to get unless we acted very soon, I think, because he'll be on the move. But he's probably the closest. If you were just going to go and spend 30 million on someone to get us like for like, it'd probably be him.
Danscape, would you like to reply to yourself with anything further? Any more thoughts on that?
I don't like the fact that you can hold me to account for the nonsense I said a couple of weeks ago. No, I think it's all pretty accurate. I still think it sounds like it's going to be about 30 million quid, which for me, we need someone that's ready to go. We need someone in that's going to start that position straight away. No questions, no sort of easing in, because we literally don't, I know we've got Jota, but he's just not shown anything even in these pre-season games. So we need someone for that right wing role. And, for me, it's still worthwhile.
What are your thoughts on Jota, guys? Because I still think that he's got a place at Forest. I know people are saying, well, he's got to go. I think that he could be really useful for us in Europe. I think he could. I'm not suggesting as a starter, but he's got a role. He's an off the bencher. He's got a role off the bench, and we know he can be a bit frenetic. And there's been loads of analogies about him, but I just think that there's still something there in him. What do you think? I'll come to you first, Richard. Time's against us, so just a brief thought on Jota Silva, beg your pardon.
Yeah, unfortunately, maybe I'm being a bit too punitive here. I feel like when I think of him, I think quickly of his flaws versus his good qualities. He's a bit foul prone. He's a bit quick to kind of get, I like the edginess about him at times, but because he is very energetic and having that energy off the bench, and he does have the capacity, I think, to finish. What I worry about sometimes is he's just can be a little bit untidy in the ball. He can give balls away. In that sense, he can, like I said, he can get himself a yellow card very easily. And I definitely think he's a decent player, and he's got opportunity potentially to be a depth piece, as you mentioned, and sparingly play in a cup draw or something to that effect. But and I just don't see him, being a guy who's featured much going forward. And I think there's still enough. He's still young enough probably to command at least a reasonable price if we were to sell him on, because I know there was some talk around Saudi. But yeah, I just don't see him really factoring in, other than being a very sort of down the depth piece.
Depth is something we've got to manage, and we've got to rectify. Alan, I think last season we didn't make the Champions League because we didn't have the squad depth. We know the window is still open for a good while yet, so it could be that players that seem necessarily set to stay could still depart once we've got numbers through the door. Your quick thoughts on Jota Silva?
Jota's a great 20-minute player. I wouldn't start him, but he's a great 20-minute player. I don't know what else there is to say about him. I think he comes in at that last 20 minutes. He runs defenses ragged, and he's the Jason Lee of the club at the minute, isn't he?
I I think he suffers from the fact that teams just don't play two strikers. So he's had to become a wide player because these days most clubs you're either a striker and a target man, or you have to play wide. I just don't think he's got the ball carrying and the passing ability to play wide, but he doesn't fit in anywhere else because he's never going to get ahead of Chris Wood and that. So it's just one of those players that, he's probably is useful to keep around if you needed to throw him on chasing a game and that, definitely. But because he was low cost, wasn't he? So it's sort of one of those where I think we perhaps will keep him in the squad. I'm
interested to get your guys' opinion on the other fringes. Is there a player? Is there a player in there that actually might get retained? I'm thinking of Lewis O'Brien all of a sudden. I don't think so. I'm not trying to hold on. I'm not suggesting he's good enough. He had a moment in the game the other day when he burst through the midfield. He is tidy on the ball. I'm thinking of depth and thinking about that squad's got to be, better than it was last season. Is there a world? I'll come to you. I'll just come to you, Rich, on this because the other two shook their heads straight away. So I've got their answer in a nutshell. But Richard, before I move on, is there a world in which maybe a Lewis O'Brien and Omar Richards stays at the club to fill some gaps? I've always been a fan of David Carmo. He's not a left back. I know Ian Wigginton said that we need a left back because Carno isn't the answer. Well, Carno's not a left back. Carno's a centre back. So can you see any of them staying, or are they all going to be shipped out again? Stamanic as well.
I think Stamanic just looked okay, but again, we're talking about preseason, right? So we're not trying to build too much hype out of that. But I would say that the first guy that came to mind when you were asking that question, or as you were asking that question, was Omar Richards. Has he showed anything to date? Not really. But ultimately, we need we covet, because I've become converted to the idea of the left-footed left back, thanks to Dan. And I do believe he fits that mold. He's a decent player. I mean, he's not spectacular. Could he spot start? Could he provide you a little bit of depth? Is he miles better than Harry Toffolo? I mean, I don't know. It's such a limited sample size from what we've been able to physically witness, aside from when he was at Bayern Munich. But I would say that that might be an emergency situation, simply because we may not have enough money, or we may be struggling if we're going to put all this money to players. I mean, on X right now, Ramsey's being touted as a £50 million player. So if that becomes a legitimate option, you've got that. You've got, if you bring in a McAtee, or you bring in, Ndoye, you're going to be paying a pretty good amount for them. And collectively, that makes it very difficult, I think, to start splashing cash on other areas.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So I could see Richards maybe being that guy who fits for right now. Maybe they look to do something in the January transfer window if needed. But ultimately, that may be just by the luck of the draw, simply because of the lack of available funds to throw money at a good left back.
I was typing, and I think maybe you were laughing at Leo Dominguez's comment.
I was.
He said, "No one puts on some ADHD medication. Just calm the fuck down." It'd be incredible.
I've got some of that, Leo. I can send some to him if you want.
We'll get him some Ritalin. That might calm him down. All right, we're nearly out of time, but I still want to mention a player that we put a bid in for, Pablo Maffeo. We've bid 5 million plus 1.5 million in add-ons. His club at Mallorca want more in a fixed fee. He's a 27-year-old right back. He would come in as cover. I don't know anything about him. He's a name that I've not come across. I'm only going to come to Danscape on this because time's against us. Dan, Alan's like,
come on, Alan.
Right? I don't know nothing about this guy. Danscape, give us your. I mean, have you looked him up? Have you got some thoughts on Pablo Maffeo?
I've looked him up as far as a couple of YouTube videos go, and the old spreadsheet, and he's 97% on the shithousing rating, so that's got to be a bonus.
Where do you think you're going, shithouse?
I'm waiting for Greg to pull out the sound.
Shithouse.
No.
Shithouse.
So, yeah, he's proactive. He goes and he tries to get the ball. He will press and he will charge about as a right back. So he suits being a right wing back potentially more than a full back that we've seen where they sit quite deep. He's not going to do much in the box. He's not going to be competing for headers and that sort of stuff. But if you want someone to just be a rat and just go and chase the ball, he looks like exactly that kind of player, and he loves to get stuck in. There's videos online of him winding up all the Real Madrid players and stuff on the pitch, and he's having a bit of a go at Bellingham and stuff like that. So he does look like a character. At 28, he's going to be a squad player, isn't he? But we need someone to play right back. Well, Ola's on international duty, so he might get a decent chance.
Just a couple of quick things to say that Ndoye did get take a knock playing for Bologna in a friendly on Saturday, I think it was, or yesterday. I think it went off after 5-10 minutes or so, but apparently it's nothing serious. So that looks like it still will happen if it's going to happen. No injury is going to scupper that one. Nick Hemphill says in the comments that Maffeo asked not to play this weekend. He wants his future sorted according to reports. Okay, look, there's lots to keep our eyes on, and we will come back whenever we can to give you updates. But I can't let this episode close without another go on the Nottingham Forest Tenable. So we're back with Tenable, and we are back to try and find Morgan Gibbs-White's most appeared with for Forest. He could be out the door, but I want you guys to give me, I'm going to go round starting with Richard and then Dan and then Alan. So you'll get a certain amount of lives each. We're trying to find the players. There's a top 10. I've put their appearances on the Tenable list or on the Tenable. So the person who's played most with Gibbs-White on the pitch has played with him 104 times. At the bottom of that is 69 appearances. And we'll find out who that is in a moment. So, Richard, over to you. Can you give us a player in that top 10, do you think?
Nico Williams.
Nico Williams, 1 in a million. Okay, let's see. Is Nico Williams tenable? Here comes the Tenable stream. It's going, it's rising, it's going up, 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 up. And yes, Nico Williams is the top answer. He has played 105 times with Morgan Gibbs-White for Forest. Okay, over to you then, Danscape.
I will go with Ryan Yates then, please. Get that one out there.
Ryan Yates. Captain Marvel. Captain Submersible. Swimmer, the goggler, through the academy. Is he tenable? Yes, you've got the top 2 answers. Ryan Yates played 103 matches with Morgan. So we're doing rather well so far. Alan, over to you.
Murillo.
What have you got? Murillo. Could be a good shout. Let's see. Is Murillo tenable? He is, just about. They played 70 games together for Nottingham Forest. So, first round over, everyone's got a point. Everyone's got a correct answer. Back to you, Richard.
Chris Wood.
Chris Wood. Now then, let's have a look and see. Is Chris Wood on the list? We've had a revolving door since Gibbs-White came in. Chris Wood has been a steady fixture. Definitely last season. They played 75 games together in the Garibaldi Red, and he's on the list. He's tenable. Danscape, can we keep this going?
This includes all competitions.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe it does. Yeah.
Yeah. So that makes a difference. Ola Aina. Let's go Ola Aina.
Ola Aina. Now, is Ola Aina on that list? Is Ola Aina tenable? Let's have a look and see what the Tenable Tower says. It's rising. It's going up, up, up. No, Ola Aina is not
really
on the list.
Are you sure?
Ola Aina is not tenable. I've got a very good source of all these stats that I trust in wholeheartedly. So it could be just Premier League only, but it doesn't say that. It does just say appearances with. All right, Alan, over to you.
Dominguez.
Nico Dominguez. Let's have a look. I've got to type these in and make sure the spelling is right. It won't allow it, but Nico Dominguez, he's on there. The man with the eyes from Argentina is on the list. He's tenable. So, Richard, back to you.
Elanga. Antony Elanga.
Antony Elanga. Let's have a look and see if Antony Elanga is tenable. Recently left the club to go to Newcastle. He has played with Morgan Gibbs-White. He's in the top 10, and he had 77 games on pitch with Morgan. Okay, Danscape. We're getting down to nitty-gritty. 4 to find.
I mean, who's played more than Elanga? That's like there's 2 players more than Elanga on that list. Difficult. I mean, is it then? It's got to be just appearances, I suppose, even if they just come on for 10 minutes as a sub. So
yeah.
Taiwo, on you then, please. It's been here a while.
Taiwo. Sing along. Taiwo won you. Keep scoring goals for me. Yeah, you Tenable, Taiwo. Big T back at the weekend. You Tenable. How good was it to see Taiwo back on the pitch as well? Unexpected, perhaps, but great to see him back. And I really hope that, we just see an amazing Taiwo in the next season. 3 to get, Richard. I think I'm back to you, aren't I? No, I'm not back to you. I'm back to Alan, aren't I? I beg your pardon. Back to Alan, sorry.
We said Callum Hudson-Odoi.
Super Callum Hudson-Odoi. Let's have a look. Callum Hudson-Odoi. You'd like to think so.
Has he played more than Aina? For real? Surely not.
Oh, no. I think don't forget it could be that these are the bottom number is 69. They could all be like at 68. Really up there, but this is the top 10, isn't it? So how are we doing? We're doing Richard's currently got 4 points, Dan's got 2, Alan's got 3. Richard, you've been doing rather well on this one. Have you got another name for me, sir?
Danilo.
He's just left the club to go to Botafogo, they're my new Brazilian team, to be fair. We've got 2 of their players. We love Danilo. He's gone to Botafogo. Is he Tenable? He is. Right away in at 69. Alrighty. So we're looking for 2 names left. I am back to you, Danscape, to finish off this Tenable tower. Can you get it?
I've got 1 half decent, well, probably 2, but Orel Mangala, who did play a lot of games when he was here. For a season and a half.
That's not one I'd have gone for, but would I have been wrong? Were you right? Is it there? No, it's not.
That high. Might be.
Not there, I'm afraid. Alan, what have you got for us? And Dan as well. You've had a head's gone.
I can't remember his name. Sergio. I don't think that's. It certainly won't be up to 75, would it?
No.
Sergio.
No.
Is it Tenable? It's not. It's not Tenable. Richard's guess for 3 points now. You're going to get extra points because you're coming round. 2 to get.
I really don't think this is the case because he didn't feature much last season, but Willie Bolly? Just a guess. I doubt it.
Is Big Willie? Is Big Willie a grower?
There's just not many options left.
Big Willie is a grower. He's on there for 75.
I think, it's the sub appearances that I think throw you a bit.
Yeah,
some players do rack up a lot. But I mean,
so there's 1 to get. There's 1 to get, and you guys have done so well. And Danscape is your guess.
I mean, they've got to have played 2 seasons, haven't they, to get to 86? 2 full seasons with Morgan Gibbs-White,
or maybe 3 seasons and
3 seasons of bit parts.
Silence isn't very good for podcasts, so I was trying to feel whilst
who's been around for that long.
Paul's with us in the comments. He says Joe Worrell. It's not Joe Worrell. I'll give you that straight away.
No, it can't be Worrell. Can't be McKenna. Can't be Brennan Johnson, really, can it? If it's got to be over all that time. There's someone obvious, isn't there, that we're suddenly missing and forgetting? Brain has gone absolutely blank. So, yeah, I'm out.
You're out. Okay. I need someone. So I need. We can't move on. Give me a name. Give me a name.
Well, Brennan Johnson. Then it's the only one.
We'll say Joe Worrell because we know that that's not right. I think we do get a chance for Alan to come in with his final guess. I think
I'm going to guess Morato.
Morato. Off the bench loads.
Yeah.
Last season, but did he make 86 appearances in just one season?
He got one of the name there.
I think there are 86 games for him to play in the one season he's been here. There is a player that has been here. I'm going to go around and give you guys a clue. 3. He's been here since we came up to the Premier League, and he's no longer at the club. Now no longer with the club.
Yeah, it must be.
Oh my gosh.
It must be.
Oh yeah. I'm cheating because Leo just put in there Harry Toffolo.
Yeah.
Harry Toffolo. Are you the tenable answer that we are looking for? Let's take a gander. And one or two did put it into the comments, including Paul Morley. It is Harry Toffolo as well. It is indeed. So Richie with 12, Alan with 3, Danscape with 2. So my co-host with the most said that has come back on top of this. So absolutely fantastic. Well done to you, my friend. All right.
Well, Aina playing out. That's my question.
Yeah, no kidding. That was a shocker.
Like no Aina and Toffolo.
We're out of time. We went into added time, extra time, and all the rest of it. We are thrilled to have had loads of you in the comments. Please do hit like and subscribe. We're very grateful if you would want to give a shout out to my dad who's joining us. He says Matz Sels should have probably been an answer, Dad, as well, Matz Sels, but probably just under that bottom number 69. And so, yeah, liking and subscribing is a real thing. Please do go ahead and do so. Leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to the podcast. Alan, it's been a joy to have you back with us on Talking Reds. You're off to Halifax later. You got a nice couple of days away with some pals. Hope you enjoy that, buddy. Any closing thoughts before you go?
No, just chill out, relax. It's still summer. It's still cricket and music season. Let's not worry about who we sign, who's on the radar. Let's just chill, relax, and be August the 11th before we know. August the 17th before we know it.
Fantastic. We'll have you back on again soon. Danscape, the Statman, who's going to be obviously featured loads and loads throughout the forthcoming season with reviews and previews and special episodes. So there'll be lots more stats coming from our main man along the way. Dan, any closing thoughts before you go, mate?
Now I'm going to try and implement what Alan has just said, which will probably last for about an hour till I open up Twitter, and then it'll suddenly be, what? This guy's not playing, not signing? Yeah. So, yeah.
I know, I'm with you all the way. And Richard Spray, are you feeling a bit better now? Because you were worried, weren't you? Are you feeling a bit better about the activity side of things?
Sure. We'll go with sure. I'm fine, Greg. I'm fine. That's what I tell people at work all the time. I'm fine. Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. I'm going to take like Dan said, take a page out of the Alan Merryweather playbook, and just kind of chill out and let it unfold.
I don't know. I don't understand.
That's kind of how you made it. You just kind of, I don't know.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah, no, I'm good. Yeah, feeling good about it. I think we'll pull those. We'll get those guys over the line here shortly. I imagine.
Excellent. Okay, we're out of time, guys. I'm away myself soon, so we're going to be winging it a little bit. Richard might jump on without me, which will be absolutely great. And Danscape will be grabbed, and others will be grabbed along the way to try and give you our viewpoints. I'm going to be overseas doing some stuff from my phone at some point as well. So it's going to be an interesting summer, but wherever we can, we will try to keep you as up to date with our viewpoints on the news. This isn't the place to come to get the breaking news because we don't have any insight. So the breaking news is out there, but we will give you our opinions whenever we can on the team that we all love. They're landing in Portugal. They play against Fulham this Saturday in a friendly. Between now and then, I would like to get one or two over the line on the incoming trail. And unlike all of you, I certainly would like the Morgan Gibbs-White situation to be finally put to bed one way or the other. I think it does everybody no favours with it being so open and so unsure. So hopefully one way or another gets sorted. And if he stays, we've got to love him. We've got to show him the love. Okay, that's the most important thing. Don't turn on him. Show him the love. He is one of us at the moment, and we hope he stays one of us for at least another 12 months or more. See you soon.
Come join Greg and Richard right here on Talking Red.